Did you guys know that Meghan Markle is in the news? Meghan Markle? No,
no, because she's a flop.
What a delight of a woman.
Meghan Markle had her, I like this, kitty cartoon series canceled. First of all, I don't know what a kitty cartoon series is. I'm assuming that's an industry term, because I know, obviously there's like Adult Swim. That's cartoons for adult. But calling it a kitty cartoon just sounds creepy to me.
Weird.
That's just
Maybe
me.
that's just what British people call it.
Maybe that's what it is. So
They have a weird word for everything.
This is a further proof of shift in culture. Evidence that the culture is shifting in America right now. It says, Meghan Markle's planned kitty cartoon series just got KO'd. Netflix axed the renegade royals expected upcoming... She's not a royal anymore, though, right?
Can I have a brief parenthesis?
Yes.
I'd just like to mention that the culture shift ironically starting to happen after the legendary 100th episode where we were trying to reignite White Boy Summer. Continue.
We're controlling the narrative now.
Coincidence?
They react to us.
We control, apparently, the Amber Heard trial. Apparently, we're controlling the culture with certainty.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's
a marionette doll of vibes all on our finger.
Perfect. Netflix axed the Renegade Royals expected upcoming animated series because of budget cuts. Yeah, they are slicing and dicing.
Wink.
They're not slicing and dicing as much as Warner Brothers is right now, but they're definitely cutting it because they had that 200,000 subscriber loss in subscriber count recently. The series was supposed to revolve around a 12-year-old girl on a journey of self-discovery inspired by the legacy of famous women from history. I can already see myself riveted.
Okay, this is just, I find it creepy. Like, why would we want to watch something like that?
Because they're anti-fun.
It's invading something. Like,
I don't even care about that. I'm just saying,
weird.
Like, it doesn't sound fun. It doesn't sound engaging.
It's not fun.
Yep. You know that, yes. It's not funny, it's not fun, it's not engaging, it's not something that I would like, when I go on Netflix, I'd be like, I want my kid to watch this show. Not really. I don't see that being something that people would want to watch. But
I guess it's just because Meghan Markle is so immature, she relates to a 12-year-old girl on a journey of self-discovery.
Edutainment is all the rage. But
another future ex-girlfriend for Pete Davidson.
Yep. Oh, that would be iconic, actually.
The executive producer of the series, which was being created through Markle and hubby Prince Harry's Archwell Productions, was Elton John's husband, David Furnish. Several other planned animated Netflix series got the kibosh too. Ooh, good use of kibosh. Given the streaming giant's money woes. Yeah, they lost 200,000 subscribers plus Russia. Like,
I don't know. I feel like the loss was a little overinflated. I don't think Netflix is like struggling in any way.
And I was pointing out, I was like, you do understand that they have like 250 million subscribers, right? Like 200.
And they're cracking down on shared accounts, which means more people are going to have to buy them.
From a business perspective, you don't ever want to be losing. They should, stagnant growth would be just as bad, or would be bad too. Losing is definitely like a sign that things aren't going well. But in the grand scheme of things, in a turbulent time,
they're more than okay.
Yeah, bad economy, everything going on, losing Russia, 200,000 subscribers is a lot here, but it's not the end of the world. We'll have to see where things go.
Now they can only have like golden caviar like 5 days a week.
Yeah, and they will only executives get to use the golden toilets in the executive suites. That's the way things.
It's really going bad there.
I was watching, or I read a couple. Like, there's a couple of Deadline articles and Variety articles that I read, which are like they're more industry, like numbers and background based on like what's going on in film, and I usually ignore them because they don't really punch well for this type of talking, or for the stuff we talk about. And they're talking about how like an executive was complaining about how another executive, they said, you shouldn't do the Dave Chappelle special because it's going to cause strife within the company. I'm like, that was like the last successful comedy special you guys did. Like, they don't even connect why things are going bad.
Here's what you do. You make the content without ever seeing the source material, and then you write 260 scripts of which you
that's
choose
not even
10.
that. Sorry, that's Paramount, dog.
This is just a genius strategy. Like, the greats emulate the greats, and then you release a show that's like spiritually and in content nothing like the original source material, and you make millions.
All I'm saying is that you make Cuties and you make that awful Cowboy Bebop version they made, and then they blame Dave Chappelle. They clearly have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
I was so happy when that show got canceled.
The Cowboy Bebop?
Like,
yeah.
I don't even like Cowboy Bebop that much, but I know a lot of
Didn't
people
they
do.
also do the live action Death Note, or was
Yes.
that Hulu?
Well, no.
Oh, Christ.
And they all know, and
Whatever
also,
that was,
Netflix.
that was
It was
a
Netflix.
disaster.
they
Yeah,
also had the horrible He-Man, the Masters of the Universe Revelations, where they nerf He-Man and take him out.
There's a live action Airbender
Yep.
a series in the works, which is also
So Netflix is struggling. So they're tightening their belt tightening in Amber, and Meghan Markle is the
all the crazy women. They just run together now.
they all kind of run together. And when I mentioned cultural shift, the reason that I thought of this off the top of my head was that the Obama, Barack
Right.
and Michelle Obama had their Spotify. They did not renew their deal with Spotify for their
Really?
their exclusive deal with Spotify. This came out last month.
Mm-hmm.
Where I also like how all of these like famous thought leaders and political figures, whether you like it or not, the royals are political figures. Whether you like it or not, the Obamas are political figures. All have production companies now.
Yeah.
So it's just
So
it's
sucks.
such an indictment of where our media
The veal
and-
comes down.
Yeah, it's a vehicle for a message, and we all know it. If it wasn't, you wouldn't own a production company. So they're no longer going to be Spotify exclusive after this year. And they think it just came down to they didn't do
They
enough.
weren't making enough money because they're flops.
They-
Get
well-
out of town.
Well, I think they said they weren't doing enough content. They weren't making enough episodes to make it worth it for Spotify to pay.
well,
them that
therefore,
much.
not enough money.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then also, I don't want to talk about that one. I want to talk about Oprah Winfrey. Didn't leave her house for 322 days because of COVID.
Because agoraphobia is virtuous.
That's what.
Being utterly insane and rocking back and forth in the corner of your living room is a virtuous thing to do.
She phrases it in here as being sort of like she calls like attention to like disparity in like health care here in America between upper class and lower class. But the
Oh
average
my
person just
gosh.
doesn't have the ability, the money, or is just better. I don't even know a polite word for it. It's just better put together to be able to like understand that there's going to be things in the world like what happened with COVID, and just understand that the world goes on and you have to keep living. You
I could
can't.
be wrong, but I think Oprah has better healthcare than me.
Well, that's what she's talking about. I think her point is that she can afford to not leave her house for 322 days,
Right.
whereas the average person, and this is what I talk about when I say that they're disconnected from reality.
I think this is just proving that people in the public eye tend to be just socially abnormal, at least.
and disconnected from what
Because
the average
if
person
you can
likes.
stay in your house for like a year and not see a single face,
And brag about
you
it.
don't even miss like having any human interaction, you are a sociopath.
I'm sure
Like-
the help was there.
Well, I don't think she didn't see any people. So let's just, it says, I didn't leave home for 322 days. Literally did not leave the house. The television icon, age 68, told the Los Angeles Times while discussing her new documentary, The Color of Care, which focuses on racial inequalities in the healthcare system in an interview published Friday. Saying that she's been so careful with herself that her own friends make fun of her, Winfrey noted that what surprised her the most about living through the pandemic is how well I was able to adjust to the isolation and not being around other people. Honestly, I would say this is weird, but I think celebrities,
It's weird.
I think celebrities are better suited for that, because a lot of the time when you make that much money, when you are that pulled from society, when you're not a regular person anymore, they probably already feel mentally detached from the average person. So becoming physically detached, while different, probably doesn't hit the same as it would
Okay,
for
it's one thing if your profession means that you're kind of isolated from other people.
Yeah.
But she literally just didn't even like feel any type of negative way about it. Like one close friend said, "Don't you just miss being around other people?" And I go, not really.
and
Like that's so weird. Like I'm tired of pretending that these people are just like us.
exactly. That's my
Like
biggest.
you're actually ghoulish. Like
Yeah.
get away from me. You're so weird.
The funniest part is like it's always people like her that are like trying to give you advice on raising kids, and she doesn't have any kids.
Seriously. Like if you're not going to be normal, just admit that. Don't be fake about it and pretend like you're like the rest of us. No.
Dude, like every relationship counselor that I've seen is like professionally single.
Yeah.
Like there's like the perpetually single people are giving people in relationships who are giving their all like advice, and it's like, why would you ever listen to them? It's like, why would you ever listen to this person about like socialization? You know?
Yeah, that's pretty common in those industries, right? That they're not. It's like, why would you take relationship advice from somebody not in a relationship, right?
Right.
I do think it's funny because we know that, like, I looked at a picture. I should have pulled it up, but the size of her house is like as big as like a town. not a town, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, right? So it's like it's not the
Could
same.
have been worse.
It's not the same thing as a person who lives in a 1-bedroom apartment spending 322 days in their 1-bedroom
Yeah,
apartment.
because they had to and weren't
Right.
allowed to work outside of their homes.
Right.
So it says, she talks about how it says, I remember at one, so it says, I was able to be myself in a way that I haven't been able to for years because usually, even if I take time off for myself, I'm thinking about what the next thing to come is. Overall, I was able to adjust because I have the ability and really strong sense of being in the present moment and living in this moment without having to worry about the next. That is a gift that only, or not a gift. That is a circumstance that you, as somebody of your wealth, stature, and means, are privileged enough to do.
No, it's like I have worrying, erratic behavior. Here's why that's a good thing.
Yes.
Like, no.
You can't just not engage in the world.
Here's why
because
I'm
you're
actually
scared.
superior for my erratic behavior.
And because you have means, you have wealth, you have status. That does not mean that the average person can choose to just not engage with the world because something scary is going on outside.
Yeah. Germaphobes just had every single fear they had of the universe confirmed, and they're gonna be this way forever.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, whatever your thought is about how people handled COVID, this is not something that the average person would ever be able to do for financial reasons. They just
or
wouldn't be allowed to.
psychological
Can I
reasons.
tell you something?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that had like kind of like median careers where they could work from home and get delivery, that's what they did.
Yeah.
They just like got delivery, stayed at home, you know, got cat food.
It made everybody like socially inept.
Yeah. Oh, you saw. I mean, it
You can
affected.
just tell now.
It affected a lot of. I mean, I'm somebody who like spent most of his time alone, anyways, so it didn't really affect me the same way. But I still went out and skated every day during COVID. It's not like I didn't leave the house. I had to go to the store. I interacted with people, but I didn't. It didn't affect my social life because of where I lived. I wasn't around most of my friends a lot of the time, anyways. That eased up as time went on. People started coming out on weekends to go skate, but in general, it didn't really affect my life. But I still had to go to work. I still had to interact with people at work in the real world. I still had to go to the store to buy groceries and interact with people in the real world. Somebody like me who then the majority of the people I saw in my life were either at work. It's that type of transactional relationship where it's either somebody you work with, somebody you go to a store to buy something. It's not like it affected my social life in that way, but I was still having real world physical social interaction with people. And even then you saw the worst of what humanity had to offer with the way
Truly.
people acted in stores at that time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say about this other than I don't know what this has to do with, I mean, they're baking it into talking about healthcare, but her situation with healthcare is not the average person's healthcare situation. So it's
I don't know. I just really don't want to hear Oprah Winfrey's opinions about literally anything anymore.
It says,
Noted.
of the larger toll from the pandemic, she continued, I don't recognize a country where you've lost nearly 1 million people and there hasn't been some form of remembering that is significant. Not an opening of a speech or mentioning in a State of the Union. I mean that there hasn't been a communal gathering where I don't think you would have wanted a communal gathering because
She's
you were
just saying words at this point.
like that goes against, like, you didn't leave the house for 322 days. Now you want a large communal gathering. I don't understand. Like, what does that mean? There's only been one State of the Union since this all started, or like in the last year, right?
How tone deaf is this? Where a large communal gathering where there is acknowledgement that this has happened to us. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Like, who's going about the world
Also,
being
who's
like, what's
us?
COVID?
It's performative. Like, that's like, we know because we've lived through it. You have lived through it. We don't need further affirmation that it's happened because we're grown, adult, rational people.
there
Literally
is no
global.
us that I and Oprah Winfrey are both a part of.
Yep.
Whammon.
I think my biggest
No, she's an alien.
I think my biggest misconception before making the film was that it was about the health insurance, that it was about having access financially, and that if you didn't have the money, that you couldn't get the care you needed, Winfrey told the LA Times. What COVID laid bare is the inequities in so many of other areas of your life also contribute to the major disparity when it comes to healthcare. No examples. No, she doesn't really explain what she means by that, but maybe it's a very ghoulish way of giving you like, so if you want to know what those examples are, check out my new documentary, The Color of Care.
No way.
Ghoulish. Yes, I'm guessing that's what she meant.
That's what she's doing.
Yep.
God, these people.
And then so it says Oprah Winfrey says she literally did not leave the house for 322 days due to COVID. Luckily, you who don't have to work and can have everything present to you whenever you want and whenever you want them on a silver platter. I noticed that the daily list of COVID infections and deaths among the cities around me, the infection and death rate are the highest amongst the poor cities, and the wealthier cities consistently have the lower, if not the lowest, infection and death numbers. I thought that was more due to population density.
This was all a shill for her documentary.
Yeah, it was about her documentary.
Wow.
Yep, it's very beautiful. It was very cleverly handled too, was it not?
I feel like I just got hoodwinked from the beginning to end of this article.
Also, I had one more thing I wanted to cover, and that is you're not allowed to make anything ever again unless it has happened to you exactly as you literally cannot. Imagination is now banned.
Noted.
You're not allowed to have an imagination. You're not allowed to tell stories anymore unless you live that story exactly as it happened. Do you understand?
So unless you had multiple personality disorder,
you cannot
and sedated people with a chloroform rag, and then brought them into your personal dungeon and dressed up as different personalities that you have, torturing them psychologically. You cannot make a movie about
I'm
that.
glad you understand.
You can't do that. It's against the rules now. It says M. Night
Just clarifying.
Yep.
So if you guys want to know what we're talking about, it says a petition for Netflix to remove Split now has thousands of signatures. Personally, if it's a Shyamalan movie that people actually like, I don't think Netflix can afford to just start pulling anything anymore if they've already paid for it. M. Night Shyamalan's Split may have given a new lease on life in the eyes of the public, but it's given him a new lease on life. But it has sparked controversy online, leading to a petition to have it removed from Netflix. Again, me and Mary would like to point out, as we always do, never in the history of change.org has a petition actually worked. The film sees James McAvoy play a person with dissociative identity disorder with 24 different personalities of various levels of maturity, strength, and demeanor. I don't have it pulled up here. Could one of you look up for me how common dissociative identity disorder is in the general public? I would like to know. The film, so it says, revealed to be a secret Unbreakable sequel. By the way, if you guys have not seen Unbreakable, I highly recommend you go see it. McAvoy was lauded for his performance. However, 4 years after the movie was released and it became available... What's up?
The disorder affects between 0.01 and 1% of the population.
So, on the rise, though, because I will say, like, other than autism, I think this is like one of the trendiest new mental illnesses that you should like claim to have on the internet.
Okay. Have you ever seen those people that they talk about how they're self-diagnosed? They believe that diagnosis from they believe diagnosis from a doctor is a form of bigotry. Like, so they're self-diagnosed.
Well, it's obviously really difficult to get diagnosed with this disorder because so few people have it.
That was it related to autism.
And if you feel like you want to have it.
Dude, the crazy girl meta on Instagram and TikTok has evolved. And there's like this new meta where it's like multiple personality disorder people.
Yeah, it's a trend. It is.
Okay, but I want to point this out. I just stay on topic. What was that percentage again?
Is it like 0.0?
0.01 and 1% of the population.
So you have to first of all, you have to be good enough at writing a screenplay that's going to be made into a Hollywood movie that will have hundreds of millions of dollars spent on it. And then to find the director and the writer I don't know if they care about the director, but to write that movie, you then have to take somebody who has that condition, which is 0.00 what? So it's less
0.01.
So literally almost negative populace. It's a very rare condition, and now you have to expect that whoever wrote a not award-winning, but a very popular movie script to actually have that condition. You do not need to know exactly what something is through personal experience to write
But the
about
thing
it.
is,
That's
like,
literally
you
what having an
wouldn't have-
imagination is for.
You don't have the option to make a movie like this because he's doing things to harm others, and you can't portray anyone with a mental illness in a negative light anymore.
Yes.
Except Kanye.
Well, yeah, I guess if it's a real person that you actually want to like psychologically victimize, then sure.
So it says the petition comes from a good place, and there's definitely a place for serious discussion over depiction of mental illness in pop culture. Whenever they say discussion, know that what they mean is compliance. They don't want to discuss it.
Right,
They don't
a
want to
small
hear.
group of people talking at the rest of us is discussion to them.
They don't want to have a discussion. They don't want to hear your point of view. They want you to bend the knee to whatever they say is applicable on that day, and what that is will change given the day of the week. So don't be fooled when they say that they want to have a discussion, because they do not. They do not want to have a discussion at all. Disney Plus's Mood Night series has tackled dissociative identity disorder, but hasn't copped criticism like Split has. That's because that's a Disney property, and these companies know where their bread is buttered. The petition is aimed at Netflix Inc., who currently airs Split on the streaming platform in select countries, given readily available access to the heavily dehumanizing stigma that this movie creates. It is not saying that everyone who has this condition is violent. It is saying that in the context of a theatrically released movie telling a fantastical story, this person who happens to have that condition just happens to also be violent. It is not painting all people in that brush. It is painting this person in that brush. And the intellectual dishonesty that these types of petitions bring up piss me off. They really do. It says the petition is not from one person or a single collective of people, but from the dissociative identity disorder community at large, and anyone who considers themselves to be an advocate to those with mental illness. There's nothing wrong with mental health and mental illness advocacy, but you cannot just stop people from creating art because it's offensive to your sensibilities. I'm sorry.
You can.
You can try.
Yeah.
Another thing is there's no such thing as a insert mental illness community. Like, you don't share a community based on
I mean, I don't know about that.
I mean, it's called Reddit, so.
well, you know what?
If
When
they-
you put it like that,
if you engage with people who have a similar condition, I don't think that's fair to say it's not a community. I think that it's, if they consider that to be what it is to them, that's fine. My problem here is they say we need to decide where to draw the line on entertainment media and vastly underrepresented minority groups that struggle to be seen in the first place is a good place, and struggle to be seen in the first place is a good place to start. The dissociative identity disorder community and its allies asked Netflix to either remove the title from its service or add a disclaimer that the film is not representative of DID as a whole. It is your job as an adult to understand that art created does not represent everyone as a whole. Nobody in the real world believes that. I'm sorry. You're being intellectually dishonest, and you're doing a weird form of cry bullying where you use your condition, unfortunately, to try and make change in a way, and then that way we can't criticize you back because it's a cudgel.
here's like the framing that they're coming from. It's that all the media we consume contributes to certain biases we have. And one of those biases they are saying is stigmatizing people with mental health conditions.
Yes.
Would this contribute to that bias?
The average person does not see it that way. The average person goes into a movie like this and wants to be entertained. They're less than 1% of the population. They're likely not going to come across many people in their life who have this condition. I'm sorry.
You know
This
what
is
I
a
haven't heard an
performance.
uproar about?
I'm not trying.
Curious. Silence of the Lambs. Like, haven't heard anyone
Criticize.
Give it a minute.
start a petition about that one.
I'm just like, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody who has this condition. I'm saying that people who want to bully people into having something removed from the public consciousness are doing it from a place that is unfair to the artist, to the creator, to the people who put time, money, and effort into making this movie. And I think that it's unfair to the rest of the world that your fear of being labeled prevent good art from being made and disseminated to the public. It's not fair.
I think there's no like bigger act of respect than making whatever subcategory you have a villain. There's no bigger act of respect, because what it's doing is it's creating a foil. Like, so this is a member of this community. This is a foil member of this community. So that's representation, whether you want it or not.
It's the infantilization of our society that you can only portray certain things in a good light because they think that the rest of the world is
Are we gonna watch
too
a movie
stupid.
about somebody with DID handing out flowers to to people and like
It's not interesting.
walking on rainbows and making pancakes?
It's not interesting. Nobody
Is
wants
that
to see it.
a movie
Also-
that people are gonna pay to see?
No.
A show is only as good as its villain or its anti-hero.
Yep.
Like the villains and the anti-hero like move the story forward. Like they are a central point of the story. So the fact that you're being represented potentially not in your eyes under like a positive light, but you know, as like the driving force behind a narrative is incredibly empowering. And I don't know, it's all really like perspective.
And by the way, they do say here that Netflix did remove it from
I'm
its
sure.
library because Netflix
Fantastic.
But it says they don't know for sure whether it was because of the petition or not. So we can't yet add to that change.org successful
Did they
petition
remove
list.
it recently or
It just says
years ago?
they're saying that they don't know if it played a factor.
Huh.
You
And
can't
this,
divide by zero.
no.
You can't.
But this funny thing is this came out like there was similar petitions that came out when the movie first got released in theaters. So this is not new. I don't think that it's fair to have this discussion and pretend and tell people that they can't make art because it doesn't represent you the way you want to be represented. That's not how the world works. That's my 2 cents on it. I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone. I just think that you're harming art. You're harming future storytelling by putting people in boxes and not letting people tell stories because they either don't represent it the way you want or because they themselves don't also have the condition. Would this have been okay if whoever wrote it also had DID? Or would they say they have DID and they misrepresented the community?
Yeah.
So it's like, where does it stop? It doesn't stop.
Never.
It's more so about I mean, it's not even about like the product that came from it. It's about the intentions that they're like superimposing onto like the people who wrote it.
Yeah,
They're assuming every intention behind
Yeah.
it, and it's not really about the end product.
it's weaponized. It's weapons grade projection. That's what I call it. They're projecting their own views onto what the writer had in mind without actually knowing what they wanted from the project. Yep. So, Dane, that is this? Did you see Split?
No.
Did you see Split? I recommend you go back and watch Unbreakable and Split.
I thought Split
Unbreakable,
was
I think
alright.
I've seen.
Yep. You seen Unbreakable?
I think so.
Unbreakable was a fantastic movie. So, yes, that was the last. I saved that topic to last because I didn't actually get as mad as I thought I would get, but I was very angry when I first read that because I'm like, you just can't make art anymore. You're not allowed to make art anymore for fear that it could offend somebody somewhere and their allies, somebody somewhere, and that's not freedom of expression. It's
You
not.
can, as long as you're brave enough to stand up to these people.
Okay, I'm saying
It's the
so-
only
They
way.
never are they?
But you will be received with a type of encouragement that will awestruck you if you do. I'm telling you. Like, people are fed up.
and they're drawn to people who have the guts to stand up for their art and
For
their projects
real.
and make what they want without in defiance of what the public the general public's idea of what is politically correct regarding that topic.
You know what no one's ever said? I want to hang out with one of these retroactively offended losers. Never. No one's ever said that.
Never happened. No.
That's all I got.
That's-
People
Yeah.
have wanted their approval though. Sad
Yeah,
as it
the
sounds.
I don't know why.
one of the things that I have a problem with is this desperate need for the approval of people. Like, I try to be charitable when I talk about these things. I always say, like, look, I'm not trying to offend anyone.
Yeah.
I don't want to upset anyone. I'm just sharing what my views are. But there's this desperate need for the approval of people that clearly don't like you. Or likely disagree with you so heavily that they, you may disagree with them, but be okay with them having their opinions. But a lot of times these people have people they know disagree with them and want them to be quiet, and they desperately seek that group's approval for no reason. Makes no sense.
Pathology of our time.
It's I think that's part of what happens when you turn into a society of constantly being offended. Society that's constantly offended. So
You're not even offended. It's a performance.
it's a way to wield power and control. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.